Yeah, we have a simple strategy, and our strategy is we just acquire Bitcoin and we hold the Bitcoin. So you could think of it as like dollar cost averaging for a corporation. And I think when you're in a chaotic macroeconomic environment like we're living through, where you have a massive expansion in the money supply and then a massive contraction in the money supply, and people are being tossed and turned by uncertainty, then the best strategy to maintain your sanity as an investor is you focus on a basket of high quality property, scarce desirable property that you think that affluent, intelligent investors will want to buy from you in a decade. And of course, we happen to think that Bitcoin is the highest quality, scarce desirable property. And then once you've figured out what that thing is you're going to acquire, then you just keep acquiring it as you have free cash flow.
Ever since adopting the Bitcoin strategy for his business intelligence and analytics company, Michael Saylor, the CEO and co-founder of MicroStrategy, has become a very prominent member of the cryptocurrency community. In the immediate aftermath of the cryptocurrency crash, Saylor was the topic of discussion in numerous articles, interviews, and social media posts. Many of the FUD headlines and posts speculated on MicroStrategy's margin call on the Silvergate loan and how long Saylor could hold on without getting liquidated and dragging the rest of the market down with him. Thankfully, the American entrepreneur and investor soon shut down the rumors, declaring in a tweet that Bitcoin would have to crash to $3,000 before the creditors come knocking. And even then, Saylor says the company has other assets to offer as collateral. In a recent interview with Benzinga, Saylor expounds on the tweet, speaking on the now infamous margin call, the current situation of the market and people's reaction to the trend, as well as what the next 4 years will look like for Bitcoin and the rest of the cryptocurrency industry. Like all other Michael Saylor interviews, this promises to be quite enlightening as we get a good look at Saylor's balls of steel, even though Bitcoin is trading 70% below its all-time high. The crypto asset is also about to have its first monthly close, where the actual price is lower than the realized price. We will now take you to Michael Saylor's interview. But before we do, please hit the like button, subscribe, and don't forget to drop your comments and observations below. Thanks, and enjoy the video.
And are you worried about a margin call, and is there a price that you would be concerned at for Bitcoin overall?
No, we're not worried about a margin call. We took a little bit of debt, but it was 20x over collateralized when we did it, which means like a loan to value 4%. And so, I mean, if Bitcoin went to $3,000 a coin, we'd have to post some other collateral, but we have other collateral. And Bitcoin, I don't think it will go to 3,000 a coin, but there's a big difference between, say, taking on 10x leverage versus 10% leverage. If you have $5 billion in collateral and you take on 10x leverage, that means you borrowed $50 billion. If you have $5 billion in collateral and you take on 10% leverage, it means you borrowed $500 million. So we had, I think when we went into that, $4 billion of collateral, we borrowed $200 million. So it was a very thin layer of leverage. So I don't really much concern about it. The key with these things is you have to be able to last through the 4-year cycles. So when you lay out your strategy, if you can't last for 4 days or 4 weeks, right, then you're a speculator or a gambler. But when you're looking out 5 years in advance and you think about the volatility, then it's an investment strategy. Yeah, well, I think the entire crypto industry has a lot of confusion right now. The industry's had a lot of creativity, and people like creativity when they're getting rich, but they're not such a big fan of that when it leads to confusion and chaos and they're getting wrecked. So as you look out over the next 4 years, I think that the market's looking for order, and it wants to emerge from the confusion. And until it gets that order, the free market's testing every component. So you have hedge funds testing the stable coins, and they're shorting every component in the ecosystem. And if they find something and they can break it, they'll break it. I think that you can expect over the next 4 years, you're going to have a variety of things take place. If I look at the future, I think we're going to see guidance and support from the IRS, the SEC, the CFTC, FASB, OCC, and FDIC. And so that's an important part of the industry growing up. I think that you're going to see broader scale adoption on the layer 1 of Bitcoin as a store of value by larger institutions investors, companies, and a lot more retail investors. I think that you're seeing innovation on the layer 2, which is Lightning, and the layer 3, which is the application layer, like a Cash App. You're seeing innovations there in the transactional area or medium of exchange area, because you can move transactions a million times quicker and cheaper on the layer 2 and the layer 3. That's an important area to keep your eye on over the next 4 years. And then I think if you look at the entire Bitcoin economy, layer 4 is derivatives, like MicroStrategy stock is a derivative and GBTC is a derivative. And so you're seeing and a BITO or spot ETF would be a derivative. You'll see a lot of innovation there. I think layer 5 is product. So when you build Bitcoin into a hardware device, a smartphone or a hardware wallet or any other device, that's very interesting. And then layer 6 is services, like building Bitcoin into an insurance product or building it into some other yield product or the like. So it's all of these things are all part of the maturing of the industry, and they keep it exciting.
In his interview, Saylor also answers a crucial question that has stayed on everyone's mind since Bitcoin took the nasty plunge to $20,000. Before we hear from Michael Saylor about buying the dip or not, we would love to hear from our viewers. Are you buying the dip or waiting for a bigger drop before you go all in? Let us know what you think in the comments section below.
So Michael, with that being said, I think one of the big questions for people out there is they want to know, are you buying the dip in Bitcoin? Is MicroStrategy continuing to purchase Bitcoin at these levels that we haven't seen in a year?
Yeah, we have a simple strategy, and our strategy is we just acquire Bitcoin and we hold the Bitcoin. So you could think of it as like dollar cost averaging for a corporation. And I think when you're in a chaotic macroeconomic environment, like we're living through, where you have a massive expansion in the money supply and then a massive contraction in the money supply, and people are being tossed and turned by uncertainty, then the best strategy to maintain your sanity as an investor is you focus on a basket of high quality property, scarce desirable property that you think that affluent, intelligent investors will want to buy from you in a decade. And of course, we happen to think that Bitcoin is the highest quality, scarce, desirable property. And then once you've figured out what that thing is you're going to acquire, then you just keep acquiring it as you have free cash flow. And so MicroStrategy acquires Bitcoin whenever we have extra cash flow available. And because we're a profitable company and we continue to generate cash, we just sweep that cash into Bitcoin, and we designate Bitcoin as our treasury reserve asset. And so you give me an extra $10 million in cash flow, I convert it to Bitcoin. I don't really focus so much on the next 4 weeks or 12 weeks or the like, because there's been like 3 cycles in Bitcoin in the last 2 years where it moves up and it moves down. And if you try to time the market, you're going to be very frustrated. But if you look out over 4 years or 6 years or 8 years, then simply acquiring high quality property with free cash flow is generally a really good investment strategy, and it's a good inflation hedging strategy versus just sitting on cash.
With this explanation, despite the current market situation, there should be no doubt in anyone's mind that Saylor is sticking with the Bitcoin strategy for his analytics firm. This way, he can ensure the company is not sitting on a pile of cash that is quickly becoming worthless due to inflation. Many might not know this, but Michael Saylor has not always been a Bitcoin advocate. In fact, in a 2013 tweet, he predicted that the asset would soon collapse. In his interview, Saylor also talks about this journey and how he went from a Bitcoin critic to owning the public company with the largest Bitcoin investment.
So you actually had a kind of bearish take on Bitcoin on Twitter back in 2013. What was it that made you change your opinion on Bitcoin and really see the light going forward?
You have to put time into your own education process. So most people are against Bitcoin before they're for Bitcoin. And if you've only had a few minutes or a few hours to think about it, your reflexive reaction is this is scary or dangerous or uncertain. And that is the case. Now, in 2013, there was a lot more uncertainty about how Bitcoin would fare versus 8 years later or 9 years later. So I think the time helps you get more comfortable with this, both time in the market. I mean, Bitcoin's, moved from an asset that was worth nothing 10 years ago to an asset worth hundreds of billions of dollars. So that helps. But I think that the average person needs to spend about 100 hours in order to understand what Bitcoin is and get comfortable with it. And you're not going to spend 100 hours learning a new thing unless you have an incentive. So the big catalytic event that caused a lot of institutional investors and a lot of corporations to discover Bitcoin was the COVID crisis and the financial crisis that kicked off in March of 2020. And I think that's brought a lot of attention to the space, and it has catalyzed the evolution of the asset class.
Michael Saylor is buying more Bitcoin with plans to continue to do so for as long as possible. Are you using the same strategy or waiting until the market improves? Please let us know your preferred strategy in the comment section below. Also, remember to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more crypto-related videos. Thanks for watching.